وعليكم السلام جامع ستهي. How are you? fiican tahay haye waxaan filayaa haddaad joogtid East Africa inaad already afurteen marka iftaar wanaagsan. Hello setahay mahad soo dhawaada. Welcome. All right, so sidaad ogtihiin lifeka ma jecli aad inaan ugu dheeraado marka waxaan jeclahay that I just get right down to business and start talking about what I came here to talk about. So this is the third weekly 7. So marka kii saddexaad waay. Every week I like to share about 7 topics that I found fascinating in the past week that caught my attention and had me thinking about things. So the first one that I would like to mention, Alhamdulillah, Abdikafi, thank you. The first one that I like to mention is the 39 Somali women that were arrested in Nairobi for having a wedding party. So that was very interesting. And I was wondering about how all of this talk about coronavirus, how we all need to stay safe, how, it is imperative and very important that we have 6 feet distance from one another. And it just kind of went out the window, So it was this wedding party. It was like about 39 women apparently were arrested. And they got greetings Mahmoud Ado. So they got arrested for having a wedding party, and I just was shaking my head because I thought to myself, oh my goodness, first of all, why my people, why and then it became a little bit humorous because about 3 of them hit in the ceiling. So I couldn't help but laugh about the whole thing, even though it was really serious. That was like one of the main things. A lot of things have happened last week, actually, but it was like in the beginning of the week, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to talk about this. So did you guys see that? Did you see the 39 women who were arrested for having a wedding party? I just shared a link there, and there was a really hilarious video up. And I'm still laughing about it. I'm still hollering about it. Did you guys see it? Yes, no, ha, Maya? Yeah? No. Okay. Assalamu alaikum, Abdullahi Eid Sharif, wa kusalamay, Adban kusalamay. Mahad said, yeah, that actually happened near my home in Nairobi. Yeah. How's Nairobi, by the way? I miss Nairobi so much, And I think I've told you guys a little bit about my time in Kenya, but, Kenya is just, very special to me. I love Kenya and I miss it. And one of my goals this summer was to go to Kenya, but it didn't work out for me. So maybe, next summer, because after the summer ends, I have to go back to work. And as a teacher, I'm working from September to May. So summer is my time, summer is the time that I get down and I do my traveling and, I do the things that I want to do. So this summer, unfortunately, it's not going to work out for me. But yeah, so somebody said that happened near their home. That's very, very interesting. Kauthar Somalia, thank you. Ramadan Kareem, adigoo sidoo kale. Ramadan wanaagsan. Yes, they ignored the directives and now they've been quarantined, which they should have been indoors anyways. If they were able to have a party, then, they should have been able to be indoors. Not partying with other people, but just, quarantining and being separate. So that was just one of the things where I'm hearing a lot about us, dadkana Somalida, or just ignoring the quarantine directives and just ignoring these things. And there's this idea that coronavirus, cuduraha, inay noo dhicin, and that's a lie. We're human beings. بني آدم baan nahay. بني آدم kale waxay haystaan baan haysanaa. We have cells and we can get viruses. Marka dadka inaa loo sheego wuu nagu dhici karaa viruskan. Soomaalinimo kaama badbaadinayso, muslimnimo kaama badbaadinayso. Waxaa kaa badbaadinaya first ilahay waa kaa badbaadin karo, but waxaa kaa badbaadinaya also inaad iska taxadirtid. So we need to tell our people it's a major crisis that is happening. And I've been seeing that a lot where we just believe that somehow like being Somali or being Muslim offers like some immunity, and obviously that's not true, right? So we need to be realistic. That's not realistic. And inaan iska taxadirno way viruska, and haddaan awoodnana inaan guriga joogno, haddiinaan awoodnina we have to like be safe. Which leads me to the next thing about being safe. I went to the grocery store the other day, and I think I was one of few people who weren't wearing a mask. And I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, like, is masks now going to be the way of life? Are we just going to be wearing masks all the time? So what do you guys think? Have you guys been wearing masks? Masks محرتين بركة بنانك عادسين. أنا hal mar حتى محرنين. أما بحس بماسك. had markay aan ka fiiriyay online Amazon inaan ka gato one way I couldn't find it. So waxaan isiri marka I guess banaankan aniga ma baxayo because gurigan ka shaqeeya. So I'm a teacher and I just work from home. Markaan banaanka aadayana waxay noqotay just groceries. Marka labada week ba mar baan groceries aada. Inta badan gurigan iska jooga. So and I haven't found any masks. So what about you guys? Do you guys wear masks? Do you have to work outside? You're absolutely right, Simsim. Corona doesn't know religion and race. By the way, Ad Banku Salame. Thank you, sis. Salam. It doesn't. It's coronavirus. It's a virus, and we are human beings. Obviously, other people, other like species get it too, right? But it's affecting us really, really badly. Ad Banku Salame Nurdin. Jabir said the most funny and hilarious part was when they hide themselves in the roof. Yes, I really did laugh. Wallahi I laughed so hard. I was like, my mother, she hid in the ceiling, and then the police officer was like, what are you doing? Well, what are you doing up there? You are a big woman. What are you doing? Big woman, like as in Mama Wimbat. And I was like, wow, he's right. She's like, Mama Wayne, why is she up there? And Hassan, you're right. It's like we don't like following rules and regulations, even though we are really conservative society. I had one guy over here telling me, cover your head, that kind of unsolicited advice. And we're really conservative, and we do follow certain rules to the T, to the point where we try to enforce other people too in a rules course. But then when we have these rules that are really common, and we need to save our lives. I was watching this video, right? It was Mamalan, which leads me to my next point. Like, this is my third topic on Weekly 7. It's the protests that happened in Mogadishu, where the police officer, he killed 2 people, right? And, he should not have killed anybody, obviously, right? But there's all of these protests. The guy was arrested, right? He's going to face justice, but there's all of these protests happening. And I think people are really frustrated. And this was just the straw that broke the camel's back. Like, they were like, and they needed to release somehow. They destroyed all of this property. And I was watching this mama, and she was saying, dowladda waa gaalo, ha xiranina maxaa la yirahdaa masks or taraawixda or soo tukada, ha waa gaalo dowladda. And I was like, oh my God, like, what is happening? we can't have that. You know, dowladda telling you wear masks, stay further from one another. It's because virus can qof kastay ku dhici kartaa. And when we have those kind of people preaching to the masses, well, it's just so dangerous. You know, it is just so dangerous. And you know how Somalis are. Even if it's not, you know, galnima at all, waan ka cararnaa, because the worst thing that could happen to us is for us to be called gal, right? Hey, Mohammed Addo said, in the place I'm living now, if you wear a mask, waxaa lagu dhihi showista. Yes, showista. Maxaas ku malaynaysaa? Maxaas ka dhigaysaa? Waxaan gacsida gaalada u dhaqmanayaaye, right? Adhering to the directive is really hard to Somalis. Even some of our local restaurants arrange a small room in the backside where we're having our breakfast, dinner, and lunch overcrowded. Oh my God. Like that just defeats the purpose, right? A small room with packed people, or maybe a bigger room, like, you know, like density, right? I can't help but think about things in science terms, right? Because I'm a science teacher, I like science, you know, but a small room with a lot of people, high density, right? High density, obviously, very close contact, bigger room, we're more spaced apart, even though that's probably still not a good idea, but it's probably better than a small room in a closely packed, you know, contained. Whew. You should find, Basma said, I should find a mask by online, or you can make your own masks. Check YouTube. There's some tutorials. Inshallah, I will look into it. Hassan Ibrahim, I went to the grocery store and I felt awkward because everyone had masks and I didn't. It's like they were shaming me with their looks. Me too, Hassan, me too. I was like in the grocery store, just, you know, getting my groceries, you know, just doing my normal thing, right? And people are just looking at me from behind their masks. And I'm like, oof, I feel judged right now. But I really don't have a mask and I had to go to the grocery store. So what do? I came to the grocery store, you know? Hi, Mukhtar Dahir Sata. Hi, how are you? Okay. Nurdin Huyre, the place I am, if you're found without wearing mask, you'll be fined $200 and taken to forced quarantine at your own cost. Nurdin, where are you? That is horrible. That is horrible. I mean, I understand that we have to be careful, and I understand that we need to have, you know, regulations and rules to protect us all, right? So some rules obviously are for the greater good, for the masses, right? But fining somebody $200, that seems absurd to me and very classist. Who can afford $200? Listen, I can't afford a $200 fine. So what does that say about other people? You know what I mean? Not saying that I make a lot of money, right? But, you know, I feel like I have a decent career, but I still can't afford a $200 fine. I do not want to pay $200. Where are you? Jabir said, I heard some Somali women borrow masks from each other when they're going to the market for shopping. Surely our Somali people need civic education on the danger of the pandemic. That's awful. Like borrowing masks from each other. You're not even supposed to reuse your mask after a certain time because it loses its like capabilities, because you're breathing into it, right? And people were putting like filters or like coffee filters on even the cloth masks, and then they would like replace the coffee filter. But you obviously should not be reusing it. I mean, that is horrible. So still on the topic of coronavirus, right? I'm still on the topic of coronavirus. So coronavirus death toll tops 200,000 worldwide. 200,000 people in the world, somebody's child, mother, father, friend, you know, uncle, sister, what have you, 200,000 people are dead. And please, for the love of everything good, do not inject yourself with bleach. Do not inject yourself with bleach. I am ashamed and embarrassed as an American. I am so... No, it's common sense, Momo. Am I a doctor? No, but don't inject yourself with bleach. That's common sense. I don't think I have to be a doctor to tell people don't inject yourself with bleach. Come on now. Come on now, right? Obviously, this is like, the topic of the world right now. We need to be careful. We need to protect ourselves, and we need to protect, each other. We need to protect ourselves from each other. So it's like, please, for the love of everything good, no bleach injection. For the love of everything good. And as an American, to know that this came from the president of the country that I am a citizen of shames me deeply. I put my head down in shame. And I can't believe that I'm over here even, talking, because I should be burying myself under a rock at the Kalia. But anyways, don't inject bleach, right? Teachers act more than doctors. We actually don't. We talk about some common sense things. And I think, this is just kind of like what do you call it? A PSA, like disclosure. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, right? I am a teacher. And the things that I talk about are just kind of like common sense stuff, right? Don't drink bleach, don't inject it, try to stay indoors, all of the things that we've been told. But, should you feel ill, should you get sick, go to a medical profession. Don't come on the internet and tell us about your symptoms and ask us for advice. I mean, you can tell us, I guess, and, so you can share it with us. We share things here on the internet, right? We're all friends. But like, seek medical help, right? And I really hope, obviously, that you're able to, because that is also an issue. It's an issue in the country that I live in. Seeking adequate medical, care is a problem. So please do seek medical assistance when, if you feel ill. And I hope, and I hope you recover soon if you are ill. Speaking of presidents, oh my God. Speaking of President Trump. Trump has recently actually signed an executive order totally banning immigration. He said he had suspended the issuance of all new green cards because he said that all of the jobs with the unemployed Americans, all of the jobs should go to Americans. So he said he's going to halt immigration so that any remaining jobs will go to unemployed Americans. Well, what do you guys think about that? No more green cards, immigration suspension. It seems like, this kind of crisis is exactly the kind of crisis that he was waiting, on to like halt immigration and things like that, right? Because he's always talking about the bad hombres from other places and how everyone is bad and all that good stuff, right? So Australia and many countries did the same. Khalid said that Australia has canceled visas too, while the US didn't, right? I guess it's like a precaution for to limit, that movement, right? So they limit that movement in and out of, countries. So, it seems like a reasonable thing to do to limit the movement. But, because he has a history of banning certain people from the US, it's probably not going to be looked at very well. Basma says Somali people need a lot of orientation about COVID-19 so you can be part of the awareness, and I really appreciate that. Thank you, Basma. I really appreciate your comment. That's really nice of you. I hope so. I mostly speak English, so I assume most of the English-speaking Somalis are usually in a place where they're able to get the information, but it's always good to share information. I'm hoping that dadka Soomaaliga iga dhamo can, spread awareness in our native language. I've decided for me personally that I was going to speak in a language that's comfortable for me and comes naturally to me. And I think we've talked about this before where I said, English is just my mode of communication. That's just a language that I am most comfortable in speaking. Mar qaarkood, Soomaaliya waan ku tuurtaa. Mimi naelewa tu Kiswahili na mimi pia naelewa Kiswahili, lakini I don't speak it a lot, so nimesahau Kiswahili. I have to think when I speak Swahili, but when I speak English, I don't really have to think too much about the next word that I'm going to say. Okay. But not canceling visas, Khalid said that's bad. Yeah, I guess like if they're going to minimize movement, then they should do it all or nothing, right? Hassan said he as in Trump, is using the excuse of the pandemic to satisfy his base. He canceled 170,000 green cards, but there are 22 million unemployed Americans. 170K will take jobs of 22 million. Like Hassan said, the math is not adding up. The math is not adding up. And Khalid, you're right. Trump is playing the political cards and he is all about getting the numbers and getting elected. So like I said, like this is the kind of, crisis that he needed, to reach to his fan base, voting base, and to, do what they would want him to do. So absolutely. Okay. So speaking about another major, I guess, international leader, there is a rumor, and we still aren't sure whether I can't say his name to save my life, so please correct me, Kim Jong-un. Is that how you say it? Kim Jong-un, the dictator, de facto leader, not de facto, just the leader of North Korea, is presumed to be dead. Now, we're not sure because North Korea is so cut off from the rest of the world that we don't know if the guy's dead. So is he dead or is he not dead? Is he or is he not? And what does that mean for the world? And what does that mean for the Korean Peninsula? Are we going to I heard his sister might be taken over. If in fact he is dead, does that mean that North Korea will rejoin the world and will be a little bit more lax about movement in and out of its country? What do you guys think? Is Kim Jong-un, I'm mispronouncing his name, I know it, but I'm trying. Is he dead? And what do you think his death means for the Korean Peninsula and for the rest of the world? Okay, who is our Korean correspondent? I need to know. Okay, Khalid said, I hope his sister takes over and shows the world that even a female dictator is better than a male dictator. Okay, so I was on Twitter, my favorite playground, right? And everybody was talking about how Teen Vogue and Guardian and all of these magazines were going to be writing girl boss think pieces about the potential next North Korean dictator. So Hassan said, if you want to know Kim's situation, you have to watch the South Korean media. And the sister is more brutal than Kim. And why do you guys think the sister will be more brutal? Is it because women always have to prove ourselves? What do you guys think? Is it because of that? She has to display more masculine energy to make up for the fact that she is a woman? Thank you. So Mohammed Daq, he is dead. His sister will be the new leader of North Korea. He died a long time. They just hide his death. And that's so crazy, right? Somebody said the other day that he died 2 months ago. He died in February, apparently. And it is April now, right? 2 months. Wow. I mean, if something were to happen to Trump today, we would know it immediately. I mean, if something were to happen to any president or leader in the developing or developed or underdeveloped, whatever world, we would know it immediately. That is how cut off North Korea is from the rest of the world. 2 months ago, that is just absolutely unbelievable. Hey, Abu Zaid Iraroti, Thanks, Olalo. He said, Ifrah Udgoon, you're doing amazing. Your hidden talent is showing. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. This is fun for me. I enjoy it. All right. So Khalid said, women are statistically far less brutal. I don't know. Is that true, guys? Are women statistically far less brutal? Women dictators? Or like women, obviously, monarchy leaders? Right? So like the queens in past history? What do you guys think? Like some? Okay. Mohammed Daf said his death could be good news for North Korea, and this could be the news that all Korea prayed for. If you look at the countries in the world that handle crisis in the world now, maybe women leaders are needed now. Look at New Zealand. I am a huge fan of Jacinda. Is our last name Ardern? Jacinda Ardern? Anyways, she is the woman. Oh my God, I love her. I love her. I too want to be a Kiwi. Is there any Kiwi men in here? Let's get married. Let's go. All right. Khalid says, guys, for your information, I am African too. I may look white, but I am not. That nobody meme, but I had to say it. Yeah, Khalid is our, he's Moroccan. He is African, like you said. Welcome, Khalid. I'm really glad that you're here. I join your live sometimes, but you speak Arabic and you speak French, and I feel left out, okay? I feel really left out. So sometimes say something in English when you see that I'm there. All right, so Dek Muhammad, going really off topics, asked me if I am single. That is just like interesting. Am I single? I just said, if there's a Kiwi man out there, come on, we're here, Unless you're from New Zealand, don't come in my DMs though. You're not welcome. I want to go where Jacinda is. That's where I want to go. Abdul is a Kiwi? No, he's not. He's like Kenya. Women aren't more brutal, Abdul says. They are just like men. But in regular democracies, women leaders do better. Okay. Khalid, I know. I'm just joking with you. I know that you have a Moroccan audience, and I know that, you guys obviously speak your language and French. So I understand completely. Hey, Natasha, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I really, really appreciate that. So we got on a really back to Somalia real quickly. We had earlier in the week a huge outrage on Twitter because a radio station in Barawa was told that they are not allowed to broadcast in their local language. And this, is something really interesting, right? The reason I'm interested in this topic is because as Somalis, we just really love saying this one people, one language, one religion, one that, and the myth, right? What I call the myth of Somali homogeneity is something that needs to be discussed because it is one of the reasons why this radio station was told they are not allowed to broadcast in their language. So the language that they speak, it's like a mixture of Swahili and Arabic, and I think it's called Chimwi or Chimwini. Somebody help. Chimwi. I think it's Chimwini. Yes, Chimwini. That's what it's called. And, it makes sense, right, that people would receive news in their language, the language that they understand, right? And the majority, right, the majority that are Somali speaking, I believe, in my opinion, feel threatened by that and have decided that this radio station has no right to speak and broadcast in the local language of the area. And it really, really speaks to the big picture, right? And those of us who live abroad, it's interesting. For me, anyways, it's interesting because I live in a country where I'm a minority, right? And I see all of these things, and I study obviously history, right? And I see all of the things that the majority does when they feel threatened. And to see that played out, like in Somalia right now, it's just like having a front seat in like history, being played out. What the majority does when they are threatened. The fact that people are not allowed to broadcast in their own local language, the fact that they are questioned to be Somali. Are they Somali? Are they not Somali? They don't speak Somali, so they must not be Somali. So then we talk about the definition of what it means to be Somali. What does it mean to be Somali? And you guys know, if you've been following me for a while, that is the question of my life, right? It's the question of my life. What does it mean to be Somali? What is it being Somali? And that's always like something that I'm going to be studying probably for the rest of my life, because I'm interested in my roots and my background and everything. But the more I learn, the more I realize that the myth of homogeneity in Somalia is that it's a myth. And it's something that the majority uses to discriminate against other people. We talked a little bit about discrimination last week as well, when we talked about the minority clans that were discriminated against in various parts in the Somali territories. Hassan Ibrahim says, it was a shame to try and ban the Brabanese from broadcasting. That was pure discrimination. I absolutely agree. It was pure discrimination, and it was the majority feeling very threatened. Mohammed Dek says, Somalia are the most racist people in the world. Well, I mean, I think we're up there, I don't know if I want to say the most racist. So you do have xenophobia even in Somalia, Khalid? There's probably xenophobia everywhere in the world. People, it seems like human beings love dividing ourselves into different factions, different sections, and then we establish hierarchies of worth, right? So one of the topics last week was the minority clans, and there's some myth about how they became untouchables or whatever, and it's obviously BS, right? It's some story so that that hierarchy of worth makes sense. And these people are Somali ethnically, right? And they are also Somali speaking. So not only do we have xenophobia in terms of other people who are Somali citizens, we also have xenophobia and a caste system within our own clans. And it's awful, it's a very terrible thing. Yeah. So tell them camel herders have been full of it from day one. Yeah, it's interesting. These things are things that are real, and we like to pretend that they don't exist, and we like to act like, we're just this one happy big family, but we're not, right? I remember the first time I was asked my qabil. Let me tell you guys, the first time I was asked by qabil, I think I was 16 or something, and I went to I was traveling from Garissa to Mandera for some school stuff. And I'm sitting next to this girl, and we're chopping it up. We're just talking. We're like, everything is good. You know what I mean? And then she asks me my qabil. And you should have seen her face fall when I told her my qabil. At that point, I'm 16. I don't know a lot about qabil. I don't know a lot about Somali history. I don't know really the bad ways that qabil are used. I just know that this is my qabil. This is just my heritage. It's for me at that point, and still is. It's just as my last name. It's just, heritage. But you learn about people and the things that they value when you talk about them, when you talk to them, Mahad Ali says Somalia has so many small different languages, but only one official language. It was only one idiot who said that Barawa can't broadcast their language. It was a shame. I wish he loses his job. But actually, I heard that Somali national language, first after Somali, the second one is Arabic. And that needs to be talked about. Do we have enough Arabic speakers for Somalia's second official language to be Arabic? I would venture to say, and that's not because I am mostly English speaking and I love, the English language because it's easier for me, but I would venture to say that there are probably more English speakers than there are Arabic speakers in Somalia, just because of the mode of the language that education is taught in, right? Although I have heard that Arabic is taught more than Somali language, which I feel some type of way about. I believe, not even English, I believe that education in Somalia should obviously be in the Somali language. I mean, teaching people in the language that they do their everyday business in is probably the most efficient way for them to learn, so that they're not learning a language and learning content at the same time. Somalis say, Mohammed Daq says, Somalis say we are one people, one religion, one language, but the minority has no say. How do Somalis want to move forward when they discriminate against women minorities? Well, that's true. Not only is there really sexist, when I say this, all the Farahs want to jump me, but guys, I come in peace, okay? This is for progress, all right? Really sexist patriarchal society, right? Which is that Somalia isn't unique in that regard, okay? There are a lot of really patriarchal sexist societies, and even developed countries are really sexist too, right? So there's a lot of ways that we can go, but there are some that are more ahead than others, correct? Right? So then we have caste systems in terms of clans, and then we have other ethnic minorities that are discriminated against. So there's layers upon layers of the ways that the male noble clan, from noble clans discriminate and dominate the landscape. Okay, Alice says, people tend to pretend that when they live in the West, they criticize the Western society they live in, but have a hard time criticizing the place they come from. And Khaled, I absolutely agree with you. I always have this argument with people that are here, in the West with me, and they're always talking about racism and xenophobia, and they're talking about Islamophobia. But then when we start talking about sexism in our society and how men are, how men are sexist towards women in our particular community, it's like they're deaf, they have their fingers in their ears. They don't like to talk about that. And what that tells me, for me as a woman, is that they are angry in the West that they just don't have the same rights and power as white men, and that they're not really interested in equality. They just want the same power to dominate others, and that's it. Amatullah says, I believe Africans and Somalis are the worst Africans. They mistreat their own countrymen. I agree. You mean Arab speakers? We aren't Arabs. Okay. I meant Northern Africa. Okay. Mohammed Def says, how can Arabic be second language if 2% of the people speak it? All Somalis claim to speak Arabic, but again, no one can speak to save their lives. And that's, I always wonder about that. Is this a language that people actually speak to an extent, it's prevalent, So for example, in America, a lot of people speak Spanish. So if Spanish was an official second language, I don't know if it is, I need to look that up. It would make sense because a lot of people speak Spanish. But do enough people speak Arabic in Somalia force Arabic to be an official second language? Or is this just one of our attempts to Arabize, I guess, our country, Is this our attempt to, to be more part, I guess, of the Arab League? We're officially part of the Arab League, but really, that's a whole nother conversation for another day, by the way. Abdul says, much of Somali prejudice are rooted in culture and lifestyles. People of nomadic heritage feel superior to farmers and hunters. We've got to differentiate between prejudice and hostility between clans of the same heritage for better understanding. And that's a really great thing that you pointed out, Abdul, because when we talk about region-specific hierarchies of worth, and we talk about differences between people and why there is prejudice and hostility, we really need to have some contextual understanding. And sometimes some of us who are brought up in different areas, I myself, I grew up in the West, right? So I understand things like racism. I honestly, as a woman, study, patriarchy, misogyny, sexism, and how that disenfranchises women, right? But different areas have different hierarchies, have different prejudices, have different, things that differentiate them. So definitely, we do need to point out why. Amatullah, we would appreciate another episode of Jahwarar, inshallah. Okay, let's after Corona talk again. Mo Ibrahim says, we are Arabs. I don't understand that, dude. I'm African. I'm black. Like, you look at me, I'm not Arab. Khalid says, I guess it's human nature. For example, US slaves who were sent to Africa and found in Liberia did discriminate and mistreat and enslave local Liberians. And that is like the oppressing, like hurt people hurting. Right. And that's definitely really interesting to talk about and very much investigate. I got to put that, how Liberians treated the local Africans. I really need to, and how the fact that they were English speaking probably affected, their standing and their social status, right? Putting Somalia as part of the Arab League is patronizing and the typical Arab colonialism that was often justified by religion. Hot topic right there. Hot topic. Gonna have to touch it. I'm not Arab, it just makes no sense, right? I'm not. Hassan says, no, we are not Arabs, we are Africans. Equality, Adams Ahmed says, equality fund is where you would enjoy your career. An amazing INGO that empowers women all over the world. They have offices even in America. I don't know. That topic of NGOs is something that I'm interested in, and I am not sure that they're very empowering of women and indigenous people. But that is definitely a conversation for next time. I'll put that in my notes. Mahad says, Assalamu alaikum, Habibi, by the way. Assalamu alaikum. Mahad Ali Soyan, Somalia failed because they keep appointing unqualified leaders for the sake of Qabil, and they talk cheaply like the idiot who banned the Barawa radio, which only proves how much of a failure they are, especially so-called MPs who only visit Somalia once a year to see the other wife. Shots fired. Whoa. I definitely appreciate that. Wow. Yeah, we've got ways to go. And that isn't really that we can cover in like a less than an hour live stream, right? But I really appreciate this conversation, guys. And I'm taking notes, and we're going to touch on so many things here in upcoming weeklies. Inshallah. All right. Abdul says, if I'm dissatisfied with my life, the only thing I got to fall back on and feel important is my Gail Jira lifestyle. So Gail Jira is a nomadic lifestyle, right? So then we can talk about, human condition, right? And a lot of times, like, we like to, as rational, objective people, we like to say that emotions don't matter, but we are really motivated by things that make us feel certain ways, right? So what makes you feel bad about yourself? What makes you feel like, has you shoulders up and feeling all good and proud of yourself, right? So these things are important to talk about because they influence our behavior, and then our behavior, when amplified, and enough people do it, then it changes like the culture and the values of a community. So definitely talking about that is good. Khalid, speaking Arabic doesn't make you ethnically Arabic, just like speaking French doesn't make me ethnically French. Khalid, I don't know a lot really about like Northern Africa. Is something that I probably would have to investigate a little bit. I have read a little bit about Berber and Amazigh. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, Amazigh. But yeah, I do believe that, speaking of colonizers' language, I mean, I'm speaking English, right? Does that make me English? No, right? Speaking of colonizers' language is just a mode of communication. It really doesn't, it doesn't make you, I guess, part of like the colonizers people, so to speak. But there is something about language that does have some belonging, and we need to probably talk about that. Whoa, Mohammed Saddam wrote really a lot, and I wish I can. I'm trying to see. Lord, oh goodness. He wrote a lot, Muhammad. I'm probably gonna have to Muslim feminists and all. We're gonna have to hit that another time. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to Muslim feminism, and there was a lot of Islam already gave women rights, and we need to probably have a further discussion about that because obviously women are not getting the rights that they were supposed to get, and that's why we keep having these conversations. And conversations are good, right? We keep talking until we get it right. We keep talking and we keep doing things, action, right? There has to be praxis there. Last thing, right? Before we run out of time, I try to keep, the weekly short so I don't bore you to death, right? The last, second to last, I guess, right? Second to last, really sad thing, sorry, I have to be a downer. There was a Somali person shot in Seattle not too long ago. And I know somebody who knows the family, but I just wanted to, send my condolences. Obviously, there's this thing, that happens, and it's really shocking when you're a person, obviously, who left this, a country because of civil war and violence, and then to lose your family to violence. It's just such a shock, Apparently, this young man is about 35 years old. He was just shot from the back. Just shot. The police apparently have somebody in custody, but nothing really has been revealed. This happened in Seattle. And it speaks like more, no, this is another Somali person. We don't know who it is. So obviously there's more conversations to be had about this. But whenever I read about things like this, I can't help but like put side to side the irony of escaping a country because of violence and then losing your life to violence. It's just, and not that there's any guarantee, right? Life doesn't have any guarantee at all. Anything can happen at any point. It's just heartbreaking. And it's obviously heartbreaking for parents who have to bury their children, right? Parents aren't supposed to outlive their children. So it's really sad. As a parent, like I can imagine that pain. I don't want to imagine it, but I can only imagine it. And I speak a lot about violence in our community. And, obviously this hit close to home. And it was something that probably going to have, future conversations about. I don't know if this was just some random attack or if there's some other motivations. Not that there's ever a good reason, but knowing that, there was a reason or it's just a random attack. Anyways, my heart goes to their parents. Okay, so, woo, Khalid, woo. Muslim people, including the ones who are not ethnically Arab, want to be Arab because that is the ethnicity of the Prophet. And because many Arab Muslim rulers did discriminate against non-Arab Muslims. So everyone therefore prefers to be Arab or called Arab. Let's not forget the rise of Arab nationalism in the 1950s. He never shies away. Never. That's why I like you, Khalid. Thank you. Right? And that's obviously a conversation to have, right? And I think as Somalis, we can really have that conversation in light of, the collapse of our state and the people who ended up funding schools and other ventures in our country and the kind of ideologies that they promoted and perpetuated, right? So, and that's definitely a conversation to have. Definitely a conversation to have for the future talks, right? I can't take up all of your day today. So we're like at 49 minutes. Any last comments? What do you guys want to segue to? I would like to just have a quick last thing. Okay, my last thing was that there was, and this does actually hit really close to home too for us. I watched this video about this lady. She's African, and she's speaking French. So I don't know where she is originally from then. But she's talking about skin bleaching. And I thought this is a really, really important topic. I'm just adding the video right now onto the, the feed right here under the video. I added a comment to watch the video, and I'll add it again because this is an ongoing conversation that I would like to have, about skin bleaching. But basically, this lady started bleaching when she was young. And she said, her mother used to compliment her, but she didn't feel beautiful. Your mom's supposed to compliment you, right? Your parents are supposed to, I guess when compliments from your parents are nice, but it doesn't feel as good, right? Because they're supposed to do things like that. But she started bleaching. She's been bleaching her skin for 20 years. And she says she knew it was wrong because when she was pregnant, she would stop bleaching. So she knew that it was wrong. And she didn't completely stop until she developed a rash on her chest, which filled with pus and eventually convinced her to quit. She also has some young daughters now that she's trying to set a better example to. But we have this issue too in our community where we bleach our skin to be lighter. And there are probably various reasons why people do that. But culture does play a big part in that, what the culture values. And what Khalid just mentioned about a lot of non-Arab Muslims wanting to be Arab may play something to do with that too, Obviously, it comes from a deep dissatisfaction with your skin color and with your complexion. And it reminds me of when Malcolm X said, "Who taught you to hate yourself? Who taught you to hate your skin? And who taught you to hate your hair? Who taught you to hate yourself?" So this is a campaign by a good sister of mine. Beauty Well is the project that she's on. It's Amira. And she actively campaigns against bleaching. And we really, really, really need to support the cause, Beauty Well Project, so we can get to the bottom of why and how we can undo the hate for our skin. I went to school in Kenya, and I remember I would start the school year with girls, and they would be a certain color, and by the end of the school year they would be an entirely different color, and I was so confused because I didn't know a lot when I was young. I was so confused, but I obviously knew they were doing something with their skin, and I didn't know why. And I thought about why I never bleached my skin. I never wanted to, personally, but I'd also never been said anything negative about my skin, right? So people who bleach do say that the reason that they bleached is because of the negative things that were said about their skin. And they would hear things like "Heblaya Mudobe." And it's usually girls because the Mado black is tied to not being pretty. And then girls, obviously, there is that standard, in a lot of societies, that your value is tied to being pretty. Anyway, I think about this a lot. And I think about how we can change the dynamic. I put the video on the comments, so if you guys want to watch it. And the sad thing is, this woman is so beautiful, you guys. محل af Somali waxaa la dhahaa jinniya miya may soo jiidsado. Somebody help me. Soo jiidso. Is that what it's called? Like attractive. Like she is absolutely beautiful. And I just can't imagine that she grew up feeling not beautiful. So we need to talk about that. So Khalid says, don't bleach. African skin color is beautiful. Beauty standards and colonialism obviously have a huge impact. And our societies send us messages, okay? You know, they send us messages and we just consume it, not knowing, like subconsciously, we just consume it. I was reading this book and it was about racism. And it was saying that racism was like a smog. You just breathe it in. You don't know that you're breathing it in. And the beauty standards and the constant messages in our societies that we receive about who's beautiful, who's worthy, we are consuming that. We're breathing that in and we're internalizing it. And yes, it's easier to say, you shouldn't listen to that. African skin is beautiful. Yes, African skin is beautiful. But what do we see around us? What is upheld? What is put on a pedestal? What is being put down? And what kind of messages does that send to our young girls? Right? So we need to have counter advertisement, counter messages constantly. Okay? We need to have that message that says no. And we need to showcase and put on a pedestal African women, especially those who have darker skin, because even African women who are in beauty campaigns or magazines or on billboards are usually of the lighter. Okay, that's a conversation to have for many, many times over. This cannot stop until it actually stops. Anyways, so here we are. We have reached almost an hour. And I think it's time for me to say goodbye. Till next time. So, are there any last comments, concerns, questions? Speak now. All right. Yes. We are saying the same thing. Yes. So G the show. I just tongue twister, you know. All right, guys, I'm getting to an hour, so this was great. I typically try to keep the live short, but because it's a live stream, I've really enjoyed the engagement. You know, I've really enjoyed the engagement. And this is really great. And thank you so much, all the people who contributed. Hamad Saddam, if you're still here, thank you, Khalid. Thank you, Abdul. You know, Amatullah, Habibo, thank you, sister. Khalid, did I already say that? Abdikafi, right? Amira. Oh, thank you for being here, Bio. Okay. Thank you so much, Hassan. Hassan is, my co-writer. If you guys don't know, Hassan Ibrahim is my co-writer. So for the weekly, anyways, till next time, ma'asala. Again, have a great Ramadan for those of you who are fasting. May this be the best Ramadan for us all. Ma'asala.